All too often, it seems that Trump gets away with the lies that he says, but not this time. A federal judge has just ruled that a defamation lawsuit brought against Trump can continue. That and a defamation lawsuit brought by Dominion against pro-Trump news network Newsmax is headed to trial. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. The 5 men that are known as the Central Park Five have been through a lot. As we know, they confessed under duress, recanted, were then convicted by a jury, and completely exonerated in 2002 when somebody else was convicted of the crime. Well, that didn't stop Trump from lying about them in front of 67 million people during his debate with Harris. He talked about them and he said this, quote, he said, they said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled we're not guilty. That was his exact quote. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. As usual, it's rambling. But he essentially was trying to say that they committed those crimes, that they said that they committed those crimes, despite the fact of evidence to the contrary. So those men filed in Pennsylvania in federal court a defamation lawsuit. As we know, defamation requires them to prove that there was a false statement of fact. And this is why Trump was trying to get it dismissed. One of the arguments that Trump made to the court was that what he said was substantially true. He tried to argue that maybe it wasn't technically true, but it was enough true. So the judge didn't take Trump's argument that it was substantially true as enough to dismiss the lawsuit, because the standard under defamation isn't, was it substantially true? It was it true or not true? That is one of the elements you have to prove for defamation. Was it a statement of fact? Was it a statement of opinion? Clearly, that was a statement of fact. And if it was false, it was false. This whole substantially true or substantially false is not actually the rule of law. The other thing that the judge didn't agree with, the Trump lawyers tried to say that in Pennsylvania, there was a civil law that basically shielded any kind of liability with discussions of public concern, finding that this was not an issue of public concern. So a major victory for the Central Park Five, that they can continue their defamation lawsuit against Trump because he made a statement of fact that clearly, in that quote that I quoted you, he's not talking about his opinion. He's talking about a statement of fact. And it was published. It was published to millions upon millions of people, and that he knew that it was a lie because it was very public knowledge that they were exonerated. So it was either he knew it or he should have known it. And that is the standard when you are dealing with a public figure. You have to prove malice. You have to prove that the person knew or should have known. And clearly, it was public knowledge that they were exonerated. So Trump, of course, wanted to say these bad things about him because he was doing that during his campaign. He was saying something bad about the Haitian immigrants and eating cats and dogs. And so, of course, he was lying about the Central Park Five. But there are such things as defamation laws. There are ways to hold somebody to account for the lies that they make in public. So these 5 men who have already been through so much was just defamed in front of this large public audience, some of whom maybe had never heard of them before, now hearing all these lies. It is a very strong defamation case. The Trump lawyers tried to dismiss it based on these arguments, and the judge said, nope, this is going to continue. So we are going to see a defamation lawsuit against Trump even while he's president. And why can that continue? Because you can have litigation against private conduct. This clearly was private. It was before he was president, occur while you are president. See Bill Clinton. Of course, his lawsuit that continued while he was president. So this defamation lawsuit will continue even during his term. As I'm getting older, my health and how I take care of my body is becoming much more important. Introducing Qualia Senolytic, the first of its kind formula designed to help your body naturally eliminate sentient cells. Senolytics are a science field revolutionizing human aging. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be sentient cells. aka zombie cells, that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Let me break it down. The accumulation of zombie cells can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. And Qualea's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualealife.com mistrial for up to 50% of your purchase and use code mistrial for an additional 15%. That's qualealife.com/mistrial for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualea for sponsoring this episode. And in another big victory with a defamation lawsuit against Trump or Trump supporters is the Dominion lawsuit against Newsmax. This involves the big lie. Yet again, the big lie. And a judge has just ruled that this can go to trial. Now, we know with Trump's executive order just this week, he went after the law firm, Sussman Godfrey, the ones who represented Dominion against Fox, the ones who received nearly a $1 billion settlement. So is it a coincidence that he just went after that law firm who successfully was able to get such a big settlement against Fox during this time that I'm sure the parties are going to be talking about settlement? I'm sure it's not a coincidence. This is how you erode democracy. This is how you get people to comply in advance. But this law firm has already taken this case so far. And again, they have to prove defamation, just like everything else, which is it was false, statement of fact, which they were talking about the Dominion voting machines. They were hurting their business because they made them sound like they were not reliable, they were not safe, they were not secure. So a very strong and very similar legal case that Dominion was able to get against Fox. This Newsmax one took a lot longer, but we are now there. So this is either going to go to a jury and we are going to get more facts and present to them in a public court and get them on the record about how Newsmax knowingly lied about the Dominion voting machines, or we're going to get a big settlement against Newsmax, which doesn't have as big, deep pockets as Fox. So how will that affect their reporting? We saw there was, some change in the Fox reporting, at least around the election this time around, because of the fact that they lost so much money with that last settlement. And also they even have a shareholder lawsuit brought against Fox because they lost nearly $1 billion for their reporting and shareholders lost money. So as a consequence, there was at least better reporting around election security from Fox. And so Newsmax, these lawsuits are so important because not only will they have to pay some sort of damages to Dominion, but it helps deter them from any other false reporting around our election. So important safeguards to our democracy in these two lawsuits. One holding a presidential candidate to the fire, essentially, to telling the truth in a presidential debate. And if not, having the consequence of a defamation lawsuit. And here, holding also to the fire a major news outlet and their lies around our election security. Both of these judges ruling that they can go forward. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. We will continue to update you with developments.
Well, they have been adversaries for decades, the Central Park Five and Donald Trump. And now for the first time, we are hearing from the men who have filed a civil lawsuit against the president-elect.
Why did it take the men 35 years to take legal action against the person who publicly called for their executions? Anthony DiLorenzo spoke to some of the men and has this exclusive interview from Harlem.
The men known as the Exonerated Five have gone head-to-head with Donald Trump from their teenage to adult lives. And now they say they're prepared to take on the most powerful man in the country. The incendiary barbs and bad blood date back decades for Yusef Salaam and Raymond Santana, two of the Central Park Five. And the results of the 2024 presidential election don't make it easier, they say.
He really represents the thought process that is in America that has been riding under the surface.
But now, after 35 years, they're fighting back.
He has doubled and tripled and quadrupled down since. So this is just a history of how he keeps defaming us and he keeps using our names.
Which is why the men served the president-elect with a defamation lawsuit at his Mar-a-Lago home last month.
It's us being able to say, you know what? He lied about us. And so many people believe the lies.
It all started back in 1989 when Donald Trump took out that full-page newspaper ad calling for the executions of the men accused of raping a Manhattan jogger.
There was a bounty placed on our heads.
That fiery rhetoric emerging again during the presidential debate in Philadelphia in September.
If they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately.
None of it true, as the women survived and they were exonerated. So for the first time, Salam was there to confront Mr. Trump backstage.
I'm Yusef Salam, one of the exonerated five.
You're on my side.
No, I'm not on your side.
He still had the audacity to say, you're with me, right? I couldn't believe it.
It's about clearing our names once again.
It felt good to be able to stand up for myself.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.